Well, it's about the time that football returns. Yes, the Premier League is right around the corner, and I think it's about time that I put my hat into the ring and give my predictions for the 24-25 Premier League season. Now, I do need to put a little disclaimer here that this is at the current point in time when I'm recording this video, so there's still about a month left of the transfer window, I believe, so obviously things will probably change as more clubs make more signings. But from the current point, start of August, this is how I see things going in the Prem, but I'm aware things will probably change. But anyway, we're just going to start off. We're going to go from the bottom and make our way up to the top, like we normally do. I'm going to start off 20th place, and I've got Southampton. Yes, I've got the Saints as going straight back down. Southampton climbed up through the lottery of the playoffs after they saw off fellow relegated side Leeds. But I think that's as good as it's going to get for Southampton. Russell Martin isn't a great manager, and I'd be surprised if he survives the season, to be honest. The football he plays will not do well in the Premier League, and he's shown before that he can't really adapt. To be fair to the Saints, they've made a couple decent signings at the time of recording, with Brereton Diaz being probably the biggest of the signings they've made, and it would definitely get the Saints some important goals, but I don't think he'll have enough to save them. He's swapping one red and white striped relegated side for another. We know he can do it in the Prem, but Southampton are going to need a lot more if they want to survive. Unfortunately, I think they're going straight back down at the bottom. And then in 19th place, I've got Leicester City. It's going to be a tough season for the Foxes. They eased to the top of the Championship, despite a wobble towards the end, falling just short of that 100-point goal. Since the return to the Prem, Leicester have sold their best player and also lost their manager to Chelsea. So, not a great start. They did sign for Tuwu permanently, which was a brilliant bit of business, but other than that, their business doesn't really stand out, to be honest. Steve Cooper was an interesting managerial appointment, given his previous record in the Premier League, but he did keep Forest up, so there is that. He does have more Premier League experience now than he did back then, so that's always useful. But the football he plays isn't really that good, to be honest. A lot of low blocks, so it's going to be interesting to see if he's adapted his tactics with Leicester, and only time will tell. Leicester do need a couple more solid signings before they survive, I think. Probably like 2 or 3 really solid players, and at the moment they just don't have that quality. There's also a potential points deduction looming for Leicester, so it could be even harder than it is currently. We don't know the outcome of their possible points deduction yet. It may happen, it may not, but if it does, then they're in for a real fight, and even if it doesn't, they're in for a fight. So either way, it's not looking good for Leicester. And then 18th place, and I think this might be a bit of a shock prediction, but I've got Brentford. Yeah, I don't have the 3 newly promoted sides going down. Now, I did the same last season, and Burnley really let us down, but this season I've tried to be a bit more realistic. I can't see things going too well for Brentford, to be honest. We saw last season how they were struggling, and whilst they did end up surviving quite comfortably, that was in part due to the 2 points deductions that other teams had suffered. Tony looks set to leave Brentford, and they have prepared for that eventuality by signing another striker, Igor Thiago, who is already injured. Now, at the time of recording, Tony has not left Brentford, and I'm not sure if there are any concrete bids for him at the moment, but like I said, there's just under a month of the transfer window left, so really anything could happen, and Tony doesn't really want to be at Brentford, let's be real. Other than that though, they've been quite quiet in the window, and their squad also appears to be quite thin at the moment. Also, there are some murmurs that Mbeumo might leave as well, which would also be another massive blow to the Bees. Even just losing Tony or Mbeumo would be a massive hit, and losing both of them would be very, very tough for Brentford to deal with. Now, as far as I know, no bids for either player yet, but I'm going off rumours as well to kind of inform this. I don't think Mbeumo will go, but I think Tony will leave. They did decently while Tony was banned last season, but they did struggle, and when he came back, they weren't much better. I can't see them surviving. They're in for a real slog this season, and I just think they'll drop down. But it'll be very close between them and 17th. And speaking of 17th, I've got Ipswich. I think Ipswich will survive. Of the 3 newly promoted teams, Ipswich are looking like the best of the bunch in my opinion. They tied down McKenna to a new contract despite interest from Chelsea and Brighton. They've brought in some exciting talent, and they tied down Amari Hutchinson to a permanent deal, which is great business for them. He played really, really well for them in the Championship, so securing his services permanently is brilliant business for Ipswich. I wouldn't have minded Hutchinson at Forest. He's quite a solid player. Ipswich played some good football in the Championship, and McKenna has shown that he can adapt his style of football to suit the league they're in. We saw that with League One to the Championship, and I'm sure we'll see this game from the Championship to the Premier League. The only issue I can really see for Ipswich, despite, the massive gulf in finances, is that quite a few players in their squad are still from that League One team. It'll be very interesting how they'll adapt to the Premier League. It'll be very, very tough. I think they can survive. They're definitely going to be in for a relegation scrap. There's no doubt about that. But I can see them surviving. I think McKenna is the man to take them forward. He's got tactical flexibility, which will help them no end. And yeah, I think they can just survive. It's going to be tough between them and Brentford, I think. And then we move on to 16th place, and I've got Fulham. Now, this may be a rogue shout from me, but I can see Fulham dropping off a fair bit. So far, things have not been great for Fulham. They've seen the best player leave, and while they got a lot of money from him, they've not really spent much either. Adebayo was also class at the back and left for nothing as well, which is a big shame for Fulham, because they could have got some money from him if they'd managed to tie him down, but he wanted to go, and fair play. They also lost Dikudova Reed for free as well. As I said, they've not reinvested much of the money they've received for Polinia, and the squad doesn't look as good as it did last season, to be honest. That could change, but at this point in time, it's looking like a tough time for Fulham. They did sign Smith Rowe though, who will be a brilliant player for them, and he scored 7 minutes into his debut against Sevilla, which is always nice to see. I know it's pre-season, but it still counts. So yeah, I think Smith Rowe, brilliant signing for Fulham. He's going to do bits there, but I think it'll be a tough season for the Cottagers. They could and probably will surprise me and finish up in the top half, but for now, I think they're going to be down there this season. I don't think they'll get relegated. I've seen a few predictions saying that, but I think they'll struggle. And then moving to 15th place, and I've got Nottingham Forest. Things are looking up for Nottingham Forest in my opinion. Last season we were hit with a points deduction for PSR breaches, but still managed to survive. This season we've made sure to avoid those breaches early, so that's a good start. I've managed to do some business as well. Forest have so far abandoned their sporadic transfer business and are opting to target specific positions and specific profiles of players. Milinkovic was a brilliant piece of business at the back, as well as bringing the highly rated Elliot Anderson from Newcastle, which was a very, very solid deal. He went for quite a bit of money, allegedly, but then we sold Vlachodimos to Newcastle, so it kind of offset those funds we spent on him. And he looks like a very solid player. I've liked what I've seen so far. The squad is looking very balanced and full of talent. Nuno will have a full pre-season with the squad, giving him plenty of time to instill his way of playing with the squad. I mean, what we saw last season when he didn't have that pre-season was some very impressive turnarounds in form. So I'm excited to see what he can do with a full pre-season, and things are looking positive. I'm optimistic for this coming season. We may dip into relegation scrap, where we only survived barely in our previous 2 seasons, but I think we're going in the right direction, and ultimately, I think we might survive quite comfortably. And then in 14th place, I've got Everton. I can see Everton surviving more comfortably this season as well. Dyche had got Everton playing some decent football, and they started winning games and picking up vital points when they needed to. If it wasn't for their points deductions, they'd be around mid-table, and in no trouble of getting relegated, which just shows how well they started playing. But again, was that because of the points deduction, or were they just playing good football? I think this season will be a more comfortable one for the Toffees. They've seen a big departure in Onana, but the signs of Iliman Ndiaye and Jake O'Brien are very solid additions. And as much as I would enjoy Everton opening their new stadium in the Championship, I think they're very slowly returning to a side that can challenge the top half once again. It's going to be a long process for them. They're in a bit of disarray at the moment and have had 0 successful takeovers, but things are slightly looking up for Everton in my opinion, from an outside looking in perspective. But it does leave me wondering if they'll finally get a takeover completed. Who knows? But what I do know is that Everton will survive, and quite comfortably at that. And then in 13th place, I've got Brighton and Hove Albion. I can see Brighton dropping off a bit this season, to be honest. The Seagulls got a new manager in Fabian Hürzeler. Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend I watched his St. Pauli side last season, but what I do know is they got promoted. I don't know how we're doing the Premier League though. It's a very different league to the Bundesliga, so, well, we've seen managers adapt to it before, and I'm sure we'll see it again, so there's no reason why he can't. But I'm just not really sure about Brighton this season, to be honest. Brighton haven't really made any signings of note, to be honest, but the standout is definitely Yakuba Minter, former Newcastle talent who was very highly rated. He's played some good football. He's definitely a good player, a highly rated talent at that. But the Seagulls have lost some of the stalwarts in the likes of Lallana and Gross. They've both dipped, man. Lallana to Southampton and Gross to Dortmund. So, fair enough. They've been important parts of this Brighton side for quite a while, so they're going to feel their departures, I think. But, hey, I think the time was right for them both to move on. They still have a squad full of quality, and definitely a lot of talent in there as well. So I can't really see them struggling this season, but I do think they'll drop off though. I do wonder if Matoma can return to that brilliant play he was in the 22-23 season, but I think too many people read his thesis on dribbling, so he kind of fell off. Should be another comfortable season for Brighton though. They don't seem in any danger of dropping down at all, really. It's going to be a different brand of football to what De Zerbi played for Brighton, but he went to Marseille inside Mason Greenwood, so fuck that guy, really. Brighton should be fine. And then in 12th place, I've got Wolverhampton Wanderers. I think Wolves will enjoy a better season this time around. They've been fairly active in the transfer window so far, but did lose Max Kilman to West Ham after they screwed Maidenhead out of £1 million. They've not invested those funds so far, so the defence is looking a little weaker, but they've still got hold of Neto, and when he's fit, he's an absolutely phenomenal player. There's a reason Arsenal and City were sniffing around him. Their front line is also very strong, though Cunha could miss the start of the season through injury, but that remains to be seen. They could do some defensive reinforcements, but other than that, I can see them comfortably surviving once again. O'Neill has done a brilliant job in the West Midlands, and I expect that to continue. There's a reason why quite a few top teams and some national sides were eyeing him up, because he's done a great job at Wolverhampton. Fair play to him. It was an interesting appointment when he first came in. I remember speaking about that last year, but he's done a good job, so fair play. And then we move on to 11th place and West Ham United. The curtain has been drawn on the Moyes era at West Ham, and he's achieved some incredible things during his time with the Hammers. Lopetegui has taken the reins and has started modelling the club how he wants them to play. They've brought in a handful of players, including the aforementioned Kilman, and have so far kept hold of their best players too, despite rumours swirling around the likes of Kudus, Paqueta and Bowen. Now, there is the transfer window still active, so those players could leave. I know they've each been sniffed around, but for now, they're West Ham players. If you keep those important players while further strengthening the squad, I'm sure he'll do fine. Lopetegui does play a different style of football to Moyes, so drilling that in from the start of the preseason is ideal, and I think it works better than him coming halfway through the season. It may be a slight drop off from last season, but I see West Ham being more than fine with the new manager. I mean, they've signed Fulkrug from Dortmund, and I think they're signing Somerville if they've not done so already, so two brilliant additions to West Ham, and yeah, they should be pretty much fine this season, and they could move up a few spots depending on the business they complete towards the end of the window as well. But the same go for any team really. They could go up or down depending on how the window goes. I'm probably not going to make an updated Premier League table when the signings have been completed, but we'll see. You never know. And then in 10th place, smack bang in the middle of the table, is Bournemouth. Things are looking up for Bournemouth, in my opinion. An outsider looking in. Iraola has impressed in his first season with Bournemouth, and I can see building on those performances to climb further up the table. Solanke had a phenomenal season under Iraola, to be honest, and was a core part of Bournemouth's success in the previous season. The Cherries need to keep hold of him if they want to progress. But, unfortunately for them, they've got some teams sniffing around Solanke, most notably Tottenham, and Tottenham have money to throw around, so he could go, and it would be a big loss for Bournemouth if he does go. But for now, he's a Bournemouth player, so that's what we're sticking with. They've made some good additions so far and haven't lost a large amount of quality at the moment. So at the time of recording, things are currently looking good for Bournemouth, and I can see them further cementing themselves as a mid-table Premier League outfit. Maybe they won't be slap bang in the middle, might be a few places down, but they'll be around the middle of the table for sure. And I think Iraola done a brilliant job, good manager, they play some very good football. I just hope we beat them on the opening day, man. They're our bogey club. I don't like playing Bournemouth. And then in 9th place, I've got Crystal Palace. Things are also looking up for Crystal Palace too. Their appointment of Glasner towards the end of the season breathed new life into the Eagles, and I do think he's the man to take them forward. For once, I'm not going to predict Palace to stay in 12th, and that is despite the departure of Elise, who went to Bayern Munich. They've been active in the window and brought in some good additions with the likes of Ismail Assar and Daichi Kamada coming in. Two very good players. They will miss Elise, and could see Eze and Guehi leave as well. I think Eze, target of Tottenham, and Guehi, a target of Newcastle United, if I'm not mistaken. But at the moment, they're Palace players, and that's the point of the predictions. So at the moment, I can see Palace finally breaking into top half of the league. I can see them taking the brilliant momentum they ended the season with and building that in the coming season. They may need a few more signings to really strengthen the team, but even at the moment, they're looking very good, and they're very exciting to watch, I must say. So yeah, I think Glasner can take them forward in the season, break into the top half. That'll be a good season for Palace, I think. And now moving to the top 8 spots, and I think this is where it gets really juicy. This is the hardest part of the league to predict, in my opinion, so you might see some rogue shouts from me, but I think I did a pretty good job, in my own humble opinion, of course. So in 8th place, I've got Manchester United. It's not looking great for Man United at the moment, and I'm all for it. The Ten Hag era continues, despite delivering the Reds their lowest ever Premier League finish, and I don't see things getting much better for the Red Devils this season. They have strengthened their squad, to be fair to them. Euro looks like he could be a brilliant talent, but is injured. And Xerxes cooked in Italy last season, and they finally shipped off Greenwood, so that's also a bonus. At this point in time, though, I cannot see United building on their terrible season last time out. I don't think Ten Hag can get this team playing well enough to mount a top 4 challenge. You know, they're full of quality, but Ten Hag isn't really the man for them, in my opinion. I'm seeing another bad season for United. And to be honest, there's many such cases like this, but a promising player going to United then sees their career fizzle out. That's just an established fact at this point. So I'm not sure if Lenny Yoro and Xerxes at Man United will do well. Part of me is thinking they won't. They've played brilliantly in their respective leagues, but can they do it for Manchester United in the Premier League? The jury's still out for me. I think it's going to be really tough. But hey, you never know. They could light the league on fire. I doubt it, but they could. Then in 7th place, I've got Chelsea. I can see Chelsea dropping down this season. Since Todd Boehly took over at Stamford Bridge, Chelsea have just been mental, really. I think that's the only way to describe them. And this season is no different. Chelsea decided to sack Pochettino at the end of last season, as he salvaged a 6th place finish for them, and looked like he was actually building something. So yeah, I don't know why they sacked him. Really bad move in my opinion, but hey, I don't support Chelsea, so I don't care. They then replaced him with a massively untested Maresca, and looking at pre-season results, things haven't been going that well. I don't know why they bought in Maresca. I think it's because he had linked to Pep Guardiola, used to be under him at Manchester City. I think that's the only reason he got signed by Chelsea. I don't get it. They should have stuck with Poch, and Maresca should have stayed at Leicester, but here we are. As per usual, Chelsea have filled their grubby mitts in the transfer market once again. So far signing 8 players. 8! 8 players they don't need. This is the team that also has 8 goalkeepers. 8 first team goalkeepers. Have you seen not only their goalkeeping department, but their entire squad? They've got like 54 players. What's going on? What is going on? They need to make a Chelsea B team and stuff them in League One or something, man. Like, what's happening? I know Forest are bad for signing keepers, but my god, we don't have 8 on the books. That's mental. Maresca at Chelsea doesn't fill me with confidence, and I can't see him lasting the year, let alone the season. And he's got a lot of players to manage as well. I don't know how he's going to do it, to be honest. Chelsea could have like 3 or 4 really good 11s, but they're just hoarding all these players and probably stunting most of their careers. Don't envy Maresca's job here. He's got to build a squad out of whatever the fuck he's been given. You know, Cole Palmer, that's about the only stalwart of the side I can see. Reece James is injured, so who knows? Well, he's not injured now, but he probably will become start of the season. Anyway, yeah, things not looking good for Chelsea, and the fans are already turning on the manager, you know, which is a really good sign. Proper Chels. But yeah, I think it's going to be a drop-off for Chelsea. Then in 6th place, I've got Newcastle United, and I think Newcastle will enjoy a better season this time around. Their previous season was racked with injuries as they attempted to compete in both the Champions League and the Prem. Newcastle did well to remain in the top half of the league with the injuries they had to deal with, and they only missed out on Europe because Ten Hag won the FA Cup and inadvertently stuffed United for at least another season. They've not been too active in the window so far, signing 2 keepers and seeing 2 promising youngsters depart. Despite that though, Newcastle do have a very solid side and look like they're trying for Guehi too, which could be a very solid addition for them. Looks like Isak and Guimaraes are staying for now. I know Man City have been sniffing around Guimaraes and Arsenal around Isak, but for now, they're both Newcastle players, and I reckon at least one of them will still be a Newcastle player come into the window. I can see Newcastle challenging for the top 4 once again. I don't think they'll breach it, but, you know, they've got a quality squad, a few quality additions here and there, they should be solid. Plus, Eddie Howe, brilliant manager. If he stays at Newcastle, things will be good for them. I think England are appointing Lee Carsley as the interim manager or something like that, so I don't think Eddie Howe's going to go to the England setup just yet. We might be waiting for Guardiola when he finishes at Man City. Who knows? That's speculation for another time. Eddie Howe is the Newcastle manager. Got some quality players in the Newcastle squad. They should be fine. Top 6, guaranteed, I think. And then in 5th place, I've got Aston Villa. Villa are coming back for a brilliant season as they finish 4th and mark a return to the Champions League for the first time since 1983. I think having to contend with European football will affect the Villains' domestic run though. Villa have been very active in the window and have brought in some much needed reinforcements, including bringing back Philogene, Cameron Archer and Ross Barkley. All good additions. Philogene especially, very good player, would have loved to see him at Forest, but Villa wanted him back, and fair play. I've been a fan of Villa's business so far. Even with the likes of Douglas Luiz and Moussa Diaby departing, they still boast a very strong side. Watkins doesn't like he's going anywhere either, and once again be integral in their success this season. Villa will no doubt want to go far in Europe, and I think domestic performances will suffer because of that, but I think they can do pretty decent in Europe. You know, the Champions League is very tough. I don't think they'll get the finals, but there's no reason they can't push on a little bit. Could be a solid season for the Villains. I think they'll have a good time. Will they succeed in Europe? Possibly. But I think they'll just drop out of the top 4 for the next season. Or for this season. Alright, and now we move on to the top 4. The guaranteed Champions League spots. This is what every team is aiming for. Unless you want to win the league, of course. But most teams are going to aim for top 4 to get that Champions League footy. Get that extra cash as well. So in 4th place, I've got Tottenham Hotspur. Yes, I've got Spurs as my first pick for a Champions League side. Tottenham have been cooking under Ange, and I think he's the man to take them back to the Champions League. Tottenham have been fairly active in the window, with the standout addition being the highly rated Archie Gray from Leeds. In general, Spurs have targeted quite a few youngsters as it looks to build for the future, which I think is a very solid business plan, and I think Ange is the man to get the most out of these players. I'm very happy to see Spence getting a lot of game time in pre-season, and I really hope he can break into their side this season, as he's a very quality player. Spence was an integral part of the promotion campaign for Forest, played some brilliant football, went to Spurs, didn't really work out for him under Conte, was in Girona last season, cooked a bit. I think Ange likes him as well, so I want to see Spence playing for Tottenham. Well, I want to see him playing for us, but I want to see him playing for Tottenham first. Spurs didn't end last season that well, so I'm hoping they can get a fresh start and claim a Champions League spot come end of this season. I like the look of their squad, and Ange is the man to take them forward. I think they'll claim that first Champions League spot. And in 3rd place, I've got Liverpool. Liverpool are preparing for their first season under Slot, and his extremely shiny head. Honestly, bro's head is so shiny. What's going on there? I think Liverpool will retain a top 4 spot under a new manager. The Reds have not explored the market at time of recording, but there are murmurs they're looking to make the signing of Zubamendi, I believe, which he could do well for Liverpool, I think. But they have seen a few iconic players depart, with Matip and Thiago Alcantara both departing. Salah looks to be staying 2 at the moment, and even despite his drop-off last season, he still scored 18 league goals and massively helped Liverpool secure a return to Champions League football in Klopp's final season. Liverpool do have a very strong squad, and I have no doubt they'll retain a top 4 spot this season. It's going to be very interesting to see how they will play under Slot, as his style of football is very different to the style they played under Klopp. But I think the players are enjoying adapting to a new style of play, and they've had a positive pre-season so far, so things are pointing up. It's going to be a new look Liverpool side, maybe not in terms of signings, but definitely in terms of tactics and how they line up. But with the positive results they've had, I think things could look up for Liverpool, and they're a very bold manager. And I think they secure that second Champions League spot. And then in 2nd place, this is a big one, but I've got Manchester City. Yes, I have Man City finishing runners-up this time around. City's current squad does not feel as strong as it has done in recent seasons, and while I'm sure they'll compete, I just don't feel they have enough in the tank this season. Their only signing of note is Savinho, who I'm sure will do well, but I don't think he's enough. Rumours are swirling around Julian Alvarez going to Atleti. Will be a big loss for City, as he has scored 11 league goals last season. Maybe not a massive impact, but still one they'll feel. I thought Alvarez was a brilliant player in the City shirt, and it's a shame they're letting him go, but he wanted more minutes, so fair enough. There are also 115 charges swirling around Manchester City, which are set to be sorted this season, I believe. So we could see some hefty punishment, which they deserve and very much need, because you don't breach rules 115 times and get off with nothing. But they're Manchester City, so they probably will. Either way, though, I've City finishing second. I just have that gut feeling that they can't get over the line this season. I would love to see the full force of the FA or the Premier League brought down on Manchester City for their breaches, but I don't think that'll happen. But either way, I can't see them winning the title, so hold that. So yeah, you've probably guessed by now, but in 1st place, I've got Arsenal. I have Arsenal winning the league. It hurts a bit to say, as I'm not really a fan of the Gunners, but I think this season, Arsenal are finally going to topple Manchester City to win their first Premier League title since 2004. For me, it's like the best of the bad bunch, I don't want to see City lift another title with all the corruption they've been doing. I don't really like Arsenal or Liverpool. Tottenham, I guess, but they're never going to win a trophy, so it's tough out here for me. I think Arsenal will be the ones to do it this season. Arsenal have been looking good. They keep building up performances season after season and strengthening where they need to. They've signed Calafiori, the Italian. Now, I've not seen a defending compilation of him, but he looks good in the aesthetics department, so that seems to be enough for Gunners fans, so sure. They've also signed Raya permanently, who did a brilliant job between the six last season. Poor old Ramsdale, man. What a boy. Come to Forest, mate. We'll sort you out. Or don't. We've got more than enough keepers, to be honest. The Gunners are also looking for a striker. They haven't signed one yet, and they're in desperate need of one, I think. Who are they going for? Tony? Would he work at Arsenal? Probably. Solanke? is probably going to Spurs, so they need some form of striker, I think, to really cement themselves as top of the league candidates. But they're looking good, you know. I think Arsenal are the best placed team to win the league this season. If you're looking at all of the squads from like a top-down perspective, Arsenal look the most solid and they look with the most chance of winning the league. So I think they'll do it. Arteta will finally overcome Guardiola and end that City dominance. And hopefully they get hit with 115 charges and get relegated. I can dream, right? But yeah, those have been my Premier League predictions for the 24-25 Premier League season. If you have any of your own, please leave them down below in the comments. Or just tell me how I'm wrong that Fulham won't finish in 16th. I've been O2GT. Hope you have a brilliant rest of your day. Hope looking forward to the Premier League I am. Can't wait to see it get started, man. I'm so ready! And yes, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.